Hey, my name is Chad. This video we are going to do some comparison testing, or maybe not the actual comparison here, but I've had an idea to try out a different bullet for a while. So for the last year or so, however long I've really been loading my own ammo for my 6 Creedmoor PRS rifle, I've been running the 108 Hornadies. Had pretty good luck with them from their factory boxed ammo when I was first getting everything set up. Decided I would just keep with that bullet. It was doing well enough for me and they were available, so that's what I kept going with. Over the last few months I've had 2 issues where I had problems with the tips on them and they slowed me down in a match. Started looking around, wanted to find something else. I settled on these guys. So this is the Berger long range hybrid target. I went with the 109 grain, and I decided, since I doubt these are going to be any worse performing and hopefully just a little bit better, I just get a whole box of 500, easier than trying to source 5 of the same lot number of 100 boxes. So got them in. They're actually in pretty hefty cardboard boxes, and then you open them up and they pack with some foam to keep them protected. I'm assuming they probably use the same box for all their different sizes. So this has some foam taking up the space around the edges, but what we really want is that big old bag full of projectiles. So what little bit of research I've done, these have a different ogive shape in them and a little bit different profile, so they're supposed to perform slightly differently. Main thing I'm worried about now is figuring out my powder charge and then getting my scope re-zeroed if it adjusts it very much. One of my guys that watches videos, he ran some numbers for me in one of his reloading tools and gave me some what should be pretty good starting numbers to try out. So I went ahead and loaded 10 rounds of each different charge weights with my H4350, and I'm starting with a 38.5, I believe, or 38.8. I need to, I guess, check my numbers. According to his program, the optimal charge weight should be like a 39.02. So I tried to load a couple up at that, then a 39.2 and a 39.5. I loaded 5 with 39.8, which is what I've been running on my 108s. I just want to see if that, is a good charge weight and maybe works with these, or I'm hoping to have a little bit less. Yeah, just check my notes on the cases. Yeah, 38.8, 39.0/02. 39.2, 39.5, and 39.8. I'm hoping that the 39.02 will be the way to go. With my Charge Master, it goes to 0.02 measurements, or it's the Match Master version. So I can measure that out, hopefully plus or minus 2 to 4 tenths, or hundredths, I guess, 0.02 to 0.00 to 0.04. That's kind of the range I would like to be in. So first up, I've got to actually seat the bullets, and these have a different ogive shape. So when I measured them, I usually measure base to ogive, and these are coming up like a shorter, like the ogive is lower down than on the 108s. So I'm probably going to have to readjust my seating die depth. Typically what I do is I'm going to usually like to measure my base to ogive, and I use this tool from Creedmoor Sports, and that makes it usually pretty easy to get a measurement there. I did measure a few of these, just random pulling them out, and they're all about 6.55 to 6.54 at their base to ogive measurement, which is different than what they say on their spec sheet on their website, but I mean, it's very close, and main thing I'm concerned about is consistency, and I think within 1 to 2 thousandths for an average measurement, that's probably going to do more than good enough for what I need. The way that program measured, it went with overall length, so I'm going to seat these to a 2.79 overall length, and that's typically where I have been on my 108s, but I measured base to ogive, so it was like 2.222. So we're gonna seat these to 2.79. Then I'll get a base to ogive measurement on that, so I've got a reference point, and so these are set to the 108s. I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit different. I'm probably going to have to go down a little bit more because of the shape of the profile, but just to be safe, we're going to come up a little bit and give a whirl here and see what happens. Okay, like I said, I'm quite confident that this is going to need quite a bit more. Yeah, so that's got me at 8. Well, actually not too much, so that's at 8.4, and I need to be at 7.9, so 84, say that's... actually, I guess that would be quite a ways off. That should drop me 20. Let's see how close that gets. It's always the most frustrating part of doing something new. So yeah, that's getting me down to 10. So let's go to 8.0. That should be right about 2.79 right there. I'm going to come up 2 just to be safe, and we're going to check it with another fresh one. Sometimes that'll change a little bit. Okay. All right, so that gets me 2.792. And I want to be at 2.790. So we'll come back and reseat those two a little bit deeper when we get to the last ones. But let's see how close that gets us. Shoop. That's giving me a 795. Okay, so that's getting me right there at that 2.79. This one's giving me a 1. This is why I don't like measuring to the tips, because tips are not super consistent. So once I get where I've got a couple that are measuring at 2.79 base to tip, I'm going to use those and get a base to ogive measurement, because we'll just take a look here. With this one, it'll be probably somewhere around 2.20, maybe even a little less. Yeah, 2.168. So, but you see where it's measuring way down here into the profile of the bullet there. So, but it is a more consistent place to take the measurement, just because tips can be slightly different from round to round. So, okay, now I've got quite a few more that I still got to get loaded up. And usually when I'm loading for an actual match, I'm going to go through and sort these bullets and get them all to where they are all like loading with the same base to ogive measurement. See, that's giving me that 2.167 and a half, 168 again. That one's going to give me, see, 2.794 on that one. See, that one measurement, 2.796. So if I was measuring every single one of these base to tip, I would be adjusting the die every single time. Then I come in here, boom, 2.1675, 168. So I'm right there at that same base to ogive measurement. This is why we do that. So I'm confident leaving my die here, or my seating depth here. I should be good. I've got 30, 40 more that I need to get loaded up. And then out there, we're of course in the middle of time change, so I've got about 2.5 hours before I lose the sun. So we'll pick this up back out in the country. Okay, we're out here at the range. Got target set up, pad down. I'm gonna give this a try. So I really hate time most of the time. So we're into the daylight savings time not being active, or whichever it is. So it is currently about 35 minutes from sunset, and I thought it would be a good idea to clean my barrel. And so I've got a clean barrel. What I'm going to do is shoot through some of the rounds I have left over from the last couple matches. Just put some foulers down through here with my old 108s. Once I see speeds kind of stabilize on the chrono, then I'm going to start testing these. And ideally, I've got 5 different charges. I'm hoping this second one turns out to be the kind of the sweet spot for this. And really what we're trying to do today is just see what our group on paper looks like, and then what our ES and SD numbers are. I'm not so concerned with having like a preferred muzzle velocity. I can work around that with Kestrel inputs. So right now I just want to see what is going to be the most consistent and give the best groups on paper, assuming I do everything properly. So having to do this a little bit slow, I may end up having to put a camera down or a flashlight down at the target so that I can illuminate it once it starts getting darker here in the next hour or so. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but we're going to jump down on the ground and see how it all goes. So wish me luck. This is my first time testing a new bullet in a long time, since I've been fairly confident with what I have been using for a while, but that confidence has started to shake the last few matches. So we're going to see if something else maybe gives better results. So I fouled out about 12 rounds of 108 Hornadies, and got some stabilized speeds, so I figured fouled out pretty good. I did the first charge weight and pretty decent numbers. Can't complain. I did see like one of my groups, or one or two of my shots were a little bit off, but it's when it's blurry, and I'm racing the sun, so I didn't bother to wait for my contact to get clear. So that one's on me. But this should be, according to the numbers, what is likely to be one of the better groups. So I kind of wanted to film it before the sun goes down and see what happens here. So I've got just a few minutes before I'm gonna have to run down and put a flashlight down here. So we'll see if we can get through these 10 and hopefully call it a success. Okay. So that one jumped my speeds up a little bit. I was in the kind of 2930s. That one jumped up to 2947. Made my ES jump up to 23. Always got to have at least one odd one. Alright, so I'm going to finish this up, and it's going to get dark, so we'll kind of review the info back at the house later this evening. But just looking at the numbers on that group, I had one shot that kind of jumped out of the range. Most of them were right around 2930, a little bit below and a little bit above. Hey, if you're the kind of person that's going to go out shooting by flashlight just because you want to get some testing in, even though it's getting dark an hour earlier, go ahead and get subscribed right down below there, because I'm probably going to be having to do this a couple times over these next few months, because I've got too much to do during the day and the sun goes down way too early for me. So stick around. You're going to see more flashlight shooting as the winter progresses, and complaining about cold hands, because I just can't seem to get away from having my hands cold. So that's coming soon too. Yay! Okay, so I got finished up. We're going to try to do this out here in the dark but got a flashlight with a cool little lantern feature right up above me, so hopefully this is not going to be too terrible dark. Kind of some of the basics, just going over the numbers. I will say my groups are just terrible because apparently I just am not good at shooting good groups, especially laying prone and being down in that position for a long time. The group that I filmed on, I had that one round that was kind of out of the norm, and when I left that one in, I had an ES of 23 and a SD of 6.4. Taking that one out, it was 14.2 with a SD of 4.2. So that was good numbers. That was at like a 39.0, 39.02 charge. The next one up was 39.2. That one had an ES of 14.7 and an SD of 3.9. So, still really good numbers right there. Then I went up to 39.5, had a 20.3 and a 6.2 SD. So you can tell starting to get higher numbers the faster I go, which is what I've noticed pretty much the whole time shooting this cartridge. Then 39.8 speeds closer to what I had been getting with my 108s, and I had an ES of 12.3 and an SD of 4.3. So that was only 5 shots though. I didn't want to load up a bunch. I'm just curious what that speed was going to be like. Like that one came in at an average of 29.87, and over 5 shots the ES and SD would have grown a little bit if I had 10 total, but I'm not sure I want to be running quite that fast anymore. From what I have seen, my groups and my ES and SD numbers stay a little more consistent the lower my speed is. So closer I get to 3,000, the more things start falling apart, and then once I go over 3,000, they really start jumping around. Try to look at this. I don't know how good we'll be able to see it, but that little mess there was just my fouling and ciders. So this group here was the first one I shot of the day, and I mean, I would call that good. I've got some up and down. That's probably all completely my own fault. This one was the 39.002 charge weight. Like that one was good. Up and down, that's just a hair over a 1/4 inch probably. But left to right, I've got just over 1/2 inch. So overall, my best group so far is everything kind of staying close together. And I'm pretty sure every bit of badness is all on my own doing. So I just really get uncomfortable laying in prone and trying to fire. Next we move up here, and I mean still, pretty good looking group, but I had a couple walking around. Then over here, I mean, any of these, as usual with this rifle, it's good components and stuff. Any of these I could totally do a PRS match with. And then that last group here, it was the most like centered on the aiming point, but it was almost just as big as the 10-shot group with the, in theory, more ideal powder charge. So I think just from what I've seen from this, I'm likely going to stick with the 39.0, 39.02 charge weight and run with that and just load up more, see how it does. It's got good numbers, it's got good group size, so I don't know if I should really even bother doing any more testing. Like, should I try deeper seating depth, let it jump a little bit more? These are things I don't know, and I really don't have much time. Like, I pretty much have this next weekend to verify things, and I'd like to take it out to 500 yards and make sure I can get hits on it at distance, update all my Kestrel data, because different bullets going to have different numbers, and I'll need to update that, build a new profile for this. But from what I'm seeing, I think that's going to be plenty good. If I need to do further testing, I'll have to wait, probably do that later, because we'll have our next match, not this coming weekend, but the weekend right after. So let me know what you think of those. I really think I should be in pretty good shape, or if you see anything that looks totally off or something that I need to test further or do a little better job of testing, please let me know down in the comments. It's kind of a rush job. Obviously it's dark, so I lost all the light, and I can totally hear there's probably a mouse or something under the tarp of my little storage area here, and that's really bugging me because I didn't bring any rat poison. But I'm sure I've got critters living up under there because it's starting to get cold, and that's a decently protected spot, so I must have some holes in my tarp after a while of sitting there and getting sun damage. Always something to do, and really never enough time to get it all done in. So I don't know. I think for this one I'm going to be good, and if I don't see or hear anything drastically different, I'm going to go with the suggested charge weight of 39.02. That's going to be my goal, and typically I try to stay plus or minus 0.02. So like on my scale, I'll set it for 39.02. Anything that gives me 39.00 or 0.04, I'm going to run with it. 0.04 grain difference is literally 2 grains. So 1 grain of H4350 averages about 0.02. So plus or minus 1 or 2 grains, that's going to be the goal for charging. And then seating depth, I'll just stick with what I've got right now. I measured some with the measuring to the ogive, and that was all very consistent. Measuring bullet length, I was anywhere from like 2.790 to 2.794, 795. So I really don't trust measuring to bullet length just because it's got a wider variation there. So I'm going to measure to the ogive. I'm going to stick with what I've got right now, and in theory I think we'll be in pretty good shape, at least good enough for PRS and running at steel targets. So I'm going to try to get it, you know, further dialed in over these next couple of weeks and months, but I think for a starting point, I'm off to a really good start with this right now. So thank you very much, dude. That cut out a lot of the questioning and got me right into the sweet spot right from the start. So that is super appreciated. Well, I think I'm going to get out of here for today. Obviously it's dark. I can't even race the sun at this point. I done lost that one a while ago. So gonna go visit my dad and then get back in town and unload all my gear and get ready for the work week to start tomorrow. So thank you very much for hanging out with me for a few minutes. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.